Welcome back. You ever have one of those days at the office where the Wi-Fi just drops for no reason at all? Or maybe your mouse gets all jittery, or a video call freezes at the absolute worst moment? It can seriously feel like your technology has a mind of its own. But what if I told you there's almost always an invisible culprit behind it all? Today, we're going on a case to unmask the most common suspects behind these tech mysteries. So yeah, let's start the investigation.
Now, just to give you some context here, this is part 3 of a 10-part tutorial, and it's all based on a really comprehensive report from RFI Detectives. They're a part of Virtualization Options LLC, and it details all the common sources of radio frequency interference you find in office buildings. We're just breaking down their findings chapter by chapter to make it all super easy to follow.
I want you to think of your office as a kind of crime scene. Productivity is the victim, and the cause of death is, well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. The culprit is this invisible intruder, something you can't see, you can't hear, you can't smell, but you can definitely see what it does to your electronics.
So does it ever feel like your office tech is just haunted? You know, that mysterious glitchiness, those totally random connection drops? I promise you, it's not a ghost in the machine. It's a very real thing called radio frequency interference, or RFI for short. And it's basically just invisible electronic noise that messes with your devices, and honestly, it's way more common than you'd think.
Okay, so every good detective knows that to solve a case, you start by rounding up the usual suspects. And in the world of RFI, most of these culprits are hiding in plain sight, just masquerading as everyday office equipment. Let's take a look at our lineup.
So as you can see, the report groups these culprits into 4 main categories. You've got electrical equipment, communication devices, external transmitters, and environmental factors. Each one has its own special way of causing trouble. In this explainer, we're going to focus our investigation on that first and probably most pervasive suspect, electrical equipment.
All right, let's start with electrical equipment. These are the devices that create that constant low-level hum of electronic noise in the background of pretty much every office. It's this pervasive kind of interference that can just quietly sabotage your tech's performance day in and day out.
Our first specific culprit is the humble charger. Yep, I'm talking about those little black boxes that power your laptop, your monitor, and your phone. See, they work by switching power on and off at incredibly high speeds, which, you guessed it, naturally generates radio noise. Older, cheaper models are often the worst offenders because they just don't have the sophisticated filtering to keep that noise contained. So if you've got a drawer full of tangled old chargers, well, you've got yourself a concentrated RFI hotspot.
Suspect number 2 is literally hanging right over your head, your office lighting. Now, while old fluorescent tubes are notorious for this, even some modern LEDs can be pretty noisy because of the electronic ballasts inside them. The dead giveaway here: if your lights flicker or make a humming sound, they are almost certainly polluting your airways with interference.
And our third culprit is that big machine in the corner, the printer or the copier. These things are just packed with motors and high-voltage parts that generate a ton of electrical noise. But here's a simple detective tip. Just by moving these machines away from people's desks, and especially away from your Wi-Fi router, you can seriously reduce their impact.
So we've met our first 3 suspects. But how do you know for sure if they're the ones causing your specific problems? Well, this category of RFI has a signature clue, a very specific pattern of behavior that kind of gives it away.
And here it is, the modus operandi, or the MO. The interference from general electrical equipment is constant. It's a persistent, baseline level of noise that's just always there, from the moment you turn the lights on in the morning to the moment you leave at night. So if your tech problems never really seem to go away completely, if there's always a little bit of that glitchiness in the background, this family of suspects is almost certainly involved.
So, you've now been introduced to our first suspect profile and its signature clue, that constant baseline interference. The real question is, are you ready to investigate the next group of culprits in our lineup? We'll see you for the next part of the investigation.